shadows, and it is me again, your master, the Shadow Reader, here today, with a very important video for all of you to watch. Now, why exactly did I decide to make this video today? Well, to be completely and utterly honest, I wasn't originally going to plan on making this video. However, after I recently watched Sir Horror's reason why I think it was Junior AVI video was taken down, and a few other things as well. And after watching it all the way through, shout out to you, Sir Horror, by the way, it actually got me thinking a little bit. And I just remember watching that video and everything and being like, I know what that's like. And I decided that, you know something, consider this more or less a bit of a small manual video, so to speak, for anybody out there who wants to actually become a creepypasta narrator. And I'm going to be discussing a few things about, well, a lot more than negatives. I'm going to be completely honest here. There's not really too much in and of its own self that's extremely positive. There are a lot of negatives, but then again, though, if you manage to weigh the both of them and everything and balance it out, you can do a really good job with narrating. Now, let's honestly get started with the concept of being a creepypasta narrator. Many people in their minds have this very vague idea about what being a creepypasta narrator really is. And it's understandable, as many of them really aren't creepypasta narrators. I mean, I don't expect a whole lot of people to really understand it entirely because of the fact that, well, let's just be completely honest here. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult kind of process. And for a lot of people, it seems like, you know, the best way to do it is just sit there, read a random story, put a little bit of music on there, slap a picture, and then you're done. Now, for some people, including my own self, especially with my newer channel, that is, in a sense, the case. Now, there is, however, a lot more to it than just meets the eye, though. You know, it may seem like that, but I guarantee you, especially for somebody who does daily uploads like myself, it's probably one of the most difficult kind of things you can do. Let's start off with how exactly everything goes out. For one, this is probably the biggest problem in and of its own self when it comes to being a creepypasta narrator, and that's picking the story. Oftentimes or not, I can't tell you how many times I've literally had a bunch of people sit there and get extremely pissed off or get angry or upset, and I know I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but still, it's still the honest truth. Where, you know, when you actually start getting up there and everything, you start getting requests, and you don't do those certain requests, likely chances you're going to have an angry mob coming after you, sitting there and either pestering you, threatening to unsubscribe, getting extremely pissed off at you, and if worse comes to worse, false flagging your video out of revenge. It's very, very, very rare that that would actually happen, but it's not an impossibility that people would do something like that. And of course, you know, not only there's that, but there's also the concept of trying to find a story. Now, if you have the time and the ability to actually get to these kind of stories, then go right on ahead and get it done. However, that's not likely to be the case. Oftentimes or not, there will be plenty of you narrators out there that will have, like, you know, an entire list of creepypastas to narrate, or tabs open up where there's different stories and you just close out after you get done working on them. I mean, that's kind of the thing, though. The choices that you have to make. The choice of what specific video you're going to be doing for that day, or videos that you're going to be doing. And let me tell you, it may seem a little bit easy at first, but gradually over time, it becomes an extremely stressful and mind-altering experience to sit there and just try and find a simple story to narrate. Because you might find a story that you like, but then you don't have the feeling to sit there and narrate it, but you have to, or you have a deadline or whatever. And it becomes an extremely stressful kind of way of going out. Now, not only is that extremely stressful, but also having to deal with requests. Like I've said before, you will deal with a lot of problems if you don't get to certain requests. I still get them to this very day. They are very annoying. They are very agitating. The best thing I honestly could recommend that you do is if this person continues to continuously spam you with the same link, even though you already know what that person was, I would recommend, first of all, telling them that they need to be patient and they need to wait until that story gets done. If they don't stop, they're not worth your time. Block them entirely from your channel. I know that might seem like a bit of a automatic 180 to an extent, but it is the honest truth, because if anything, they're not going to provide anything. They're just going to continue to get pissy. They're just going to continue to get really, really angry. The fact that you're not narrating their story, which oftentimes are not, usually suck. I mean, it's, you know, people will pester you a lot to get certain stories done. And the best thing I could recommend that you do is just tell them to stop. Tell these assholes to stop sitting there and spamming constant links. Or better yet, tell them if they don't stop, you'll never do their story. Now, of course, this could work out one or either way. One way they'll back off entirely, and they'll let you do your thing and be patient. Or they'll go on a huge tirade about you being like a dick or a jerk, or you just don't want to do my story because you don't like it, or this or that. If that is the case, then I would recommend you sit there and just not bother with that person. I mean, if you really don't want to block them, which, let's be honest, that should really be only a last resort, delete the person's comment. I can't tell you how many comments I have to sit there and freaking delete because of the fact that there are way too many links that are being spammed in the comment section of my videos. Now, I'm not saying that they aren't helpful. They are. But at the same time, though, it's kind of a pain. It's a pain in the ass. There's also some things that for a lot of people, may seem extremely minuscule. You know, like putting a link in a certain description or whatever. I mean, but of course, with all the stress and everything else that comes by with doing these things, likely chances you're not going to even really remember it. I can't sit there and say how many things I've wound up forgotten the very next day because I've been so busy with work. And of course, that's something you're going to have to deal with when it comes to dealing with picking a story and other things. And especially the genre of creepypastas that you do. Like, for me personally, when I do lost episode stories, it's usually like 1 out of maybe 10 or 20 videos that I make that will probably gross over 1,000 views, maybe more. And of course, that's a problem, and that's extremely discouraging, but for the most part, though, you do it because that's exactly the reason you do it. You know, you do it because you want to get views. You want to be able to earn something. And speaking of earnings, this leads me to my next topic in regards to what you need to do before you become a creepypasta narrator. This one's kind of obvious. If you're going to be a creepypasta narrator, you have to sit there and plan a lot of these things out. You have to plan what your channel's main focus or topic is going to be. Are you going to do a channel about monsters? Are you going to do about zombies? Are you going to do about food? Are you going to do about items, lost episodes, video games, any of those kind of things? You know, it takes a lot of time to really sit there and, you know, think these things through. I mean, if you're going to sit there and just automatically make a channel without thinking things through, you're going to have a bad time. I mean, I know this from personal experience myself with my old video game channel that I had. I don't play video games. It was a mistake on my end to make that channel because, honestly, I don't play video games. I'm not a fan of video games entirely. I mean, I like them, but I'm not crazy about them. And more importantly, doing gaming pastas all the time was just not something I wanted to do. And I already did a ton of them on my other channels, so I mean, to me, it was kind of pointless. I mean, but that's the thing though. The number one thing you have to take in consideration when you're thinking about your channel is, what do I want to narrate? Like, out of everything, what do I personally want to narrate? Think of yourself first before you immediately start thinking of other things. Think and focus about what your channel is going to be about, how your channel is going to go out, and stick with it. If you want to do a mishmash of everything, then do it. If you want to be unique and just do something very different, which is something I personally would recommend a lot of people do, then do that. Hell, if the best thing you can honestly do, and this is just my own personal advice, do something that not a whole lot of people are doing. Do something that's either considered very underrated and doesn't get a whole lot of praise, or do something like a genre or whatever that a lot of people would have never guessed somebody would focus an entire channel on. Like mine, lost episodes, or cartoon stories. I focus a lot of my time and effort on making lost episode creepypastas, you know, doing these things, you know, narrating them, all that kind of jazz. I mean, That because it's a genre that very few, if nobody, with the sole exception of me, Sir Horror, and Andal, have ever actually taken the opportunity to get to. And even then, it's really just, it's so limited to the amount of people who do those things. But it's understandable because that genre of creepypastas are not, it's not exactly a very popular one, to be honest. But if anything, it's new and it's unique. And if anything, it pushes the boundaries, which is why I do my reviews and why I even make my own Lost Episode creepypastas or cartoon stories. I want to push myself, because Lost Episode creepypastas are a genre that are usually not supposed to be good, because, there's too many cliches and things like that. I mean, but that's just me personally. What you need to do, of course, is sit there and figure this kind of thing out. Write down a couple of ideas, look around on YouTube. Determine whether or not there's an extreme amount of competition or not in regards to what your channel is. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot. There will certainly be a lot that you yourself are going to need to sit there and do in order to really figure out if this is going to help you or hurt you. Because there have been plenty of channels I'm quite sure of who have barely managed to reach over the 200 subscriber mark because there's so much competition. And that's a difficult thing. And that's another stressful aspect. Competition. And I'm going to be honest with you all. Competition is going to happen regardless of what genre you do. I mean, hell. There's Andal. There's me. And then there's a few others, like Sir Horror and a couple of others, for example. But the thing about it is that sooner or later people are going to wind up wanting to jump on this bandwagon due to the success that me and Andal and others have had. Well, specifically me and Andal have had. But there's a big problem with that, though. There is a lot of competition. And if somebody's going to sit there and take a look at, like, say, 3 videos of the same kind, involving, I don't know, the Loud House, which one do you think they're going to really go to? Are they going to go to the one that is very successful? Are you going to, click on the one that just started up? Or are you going to click on another one that probably has more effort or whatever put into it? There are varying degrees and of their own selves that, determine what video a person's going to click on, especially when it comes to a creepypasta narration. I mean, even though it's brand new and things like that, there's still a lot of competition and a lot of problems even with that. And I certainly can say right here and right now that people who do want to start jumping on the Lost Episode bandwagon is going to have a very difficult time getting up there. I mean, it's the honest truth. You're going to have the hardest time in the world sitting there and actually trying to get an audience, because there are other audiences who are subscribed to the same kind of people. And for a lot of other individuals, it would seem as though that you're copying them, or one way or another. I mean, I've had that accusation pointed out to me, that I've been copying Andal, that I'm a copycat. I'm not. I do my own thing. I balance my channel out with other things to make it unique. I'm not solely a person who narrates Lost Episodes. I narrate funny pastas. I narrate other crazy things. I make my own comedy stories. I write reboot episodes. I do all those things. It's not solely creepypastas or Lost Episodes. It's just that. But of course, there's always going to be that problem too. Because you will get a lot of accusations claiming that you're just being a copycat or you're stealing, quote unquote, when in all due sincerity, you're really not stealing anything. But you're going to get a lot of attacking from either my fans or Andal's fans or whatever fans. Because regardless of where you're at, there will always be toxic fan bases. It doesn't matter how innocent or awesome the person is, there will always be toxic fan bases. And that's not really the problem of the person themselves, but the fan base in general. I mean, I certainly don't condone that kind of thing. I'm going to be honest with you. If I ever found out any of my fans or whatever were harassing another creepypasta narrator because they narrated the same story I did, I will call them out. Or worse yet, I'll ban them permanently from my channel. I don't like those kind of people. I don't, and I despise them to the fullest extent. And to any future and not only that, but also a word to my fans as well, kind of getting off topic here, but still, any of you who ever attack any other creepypasta narrator who either narrates any of my work or narrates any stories that I've done or Andal's done, if you go off and you attack them, I will personally make sure of it that you will be forever barred from my channel entirely. The only thing that you may ever be able to do is watch the video, but that's it. I will make sure of it. That or I'll report you. I'm just going to say that right now. Because I don't tolerate harassment. I don't tolerate bullying. I don't tolerate any of that shit. So yeah. Moving on. Of course, so like I said, that kind of wraps everything up. Let's move on to the third topic. The third topic is one of the most serious ones. And that's editors. And not just editors, but equipment in general. You know, it depends on what you have. I mean, if you have a laptop, if you have a computer, like a desktop, if you have specific mics, or any of those other things, you know, or you may not have any of that at all. You might just only have a phone or a pair of headphones. But if that is the case, then in all due sincerity, I would personally recommend it that you use whatever it is that you use. You know, I used my phone for a majority of my own videos. You can do it too. But even with that being said though, there is a lot of cost in regards to making these videos. And the saying is certainly true. You have to spend money to make money. That's a full-on fact. You have to be willing to spend a lot more to either upgrade your computer, upgrade your laptop, upgrade your your software. You have to upgrade your mics. You have to upgrade a lot. I mean, unless you're so extremely comfortable with using it and people don't have much of a problem with it, it's always a good idea to upgrade if you have the opportunity. But of course, as we all should know, that kind of thing costs a lot of money. I mean, I've had mics. I literally have like 2 mics right now. I have a small mic that I'm currently using right now because my little brother has the headset, so it's probably not going to be that clear. I also have another studio mic at the moment that I can't use on my computer because the computer's audio things are crap. But even with them though, there's also laptops, there's also the video editor. I mean, you have to be extremely careful when it comes to searching these things. I mean, because you might find an editor that works very well for you. There are editors out there that only have free trials, or there might be editors that you have to pay a lot of money for, and that's unfortunate. It really is. Unless you have the code, you have to pay a lot of money just to get that editor. I mean, it's a pain. It really is. I can't tell you how many times I've had certain editors that I've had for the longest time suddenly like restart or something, and then I have to sit there and either put in a code or pay for the thing. But not even just that, but also having to deal with getting a bunch of material and such. I mean, you know, the microphones, the headphones, the other things, you know, having to spend all this to make sure everything works out fine. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that you have to spend in order to sit there and actually, you know, improve your videos a lot more. And it's not even solely just that too, but your editing software as well. You have to be willing to improve more on your videos, otherwise they're just going to become so stagnant that people are just not going to want anything to do with them. It's just going to be the same old kind of deal, and if you're not sitting there and doing something to change it up every so often or improve, then you're not really going to get a really big audience. I mean, I've had to make a lot of changes on my channel. I mean, you all should know that. But another thing too that leads me into the whole aspect of it is obviously time, video editing, copyright, and many other things. There are a lot of problems in regards to this. For one, especially if you're doing lost episodes, copyright holders can easily screw you over like within an instant. I'm not joking, they seriously can do that. I've had at least one video, I've actually had a few videos. I had my Patrick Star, Why Don't Go to Taco Bell with Patrick Star get blocked worldwide, thus having me to delete it. I've had one of my videos get taken down by Spin Master because of copyright infringement, and thus I got a strike. And of course there was another butthurt piece of garbage that was so triggered because of one of my videos that this person flagged it and thus got me a community guideline strike. This is something that you're going to sit there and experience at least once or twice in your YouTube life, if not a little bit more. Hopefully it's not more than that, but it's still the case. You will have a lot of problems, issues, and everything like such in regards to whatever it is that, you know, you're doing. And it doesn't matter. Copyright, you know, claims, things like that are all screwed up here on YouTube. So I mean, you're just gonna have a more of a bad time. And if worst comes to worst, you know, you're gonna sit there. You might even get sued. Depends on how lenient or whatever you might get. You might have or whatever. I mean, the very least you'll have a copyright claim, and at the very worst you could probably get sued. It's a pain, but it's true. It can happen at any period and any time. Now, what do I personally recommend for anybody who wants to become a creepypasta narrator? Stick with pictures, or use royalty-free, use royalty-free or stock footage, to sit there and play in your backgrounds. I mean, if anything, people aren't really going to even be looking at the background. They're mostly focusing on the audio. So if anything, the main primary focus you have to have is your audio. Audio only, specifically. You can add visuals if you want to, if you think they can enhance it, but I would recommend solely focusing on the audio because that is the key part of a creepypasta narration. And finally, we're going to get to the last subject, and if I happen to miss any that you guys might have, that you think I might have missed, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, because I would like to know, and I'm quite sure many other people would love to know. But this is probably the most important one. Stress. I can't stress this enough. No joke, no pun intended. You will go through the heaviest amount of stress, especially if you're monetized. If you manage to get monetized. You will have so much pain in due time when it comes to making these stories. You will be stressed like crazy. It's an inevitability. You will have uploads that you'll have to work on. You'll have stories that you'll have to sit there and work on as well. You will go through procrastination. You will go through other issues. You will go through writer's block. You will go through a period of time where you don't even know if there are any more stories left. You will stress out. You will have video editor problems, like, they could crash. They could burn. Your computer could shut down permanently. You could lose everything in an instant. You could go through copyright strikes. You could go through all these things. You literally could go through a ton of awful things, and that is something that is oftentimes a lot on the creepypasta narrator's mind. Because there's a lot of dangers with this. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I mean, look danger in the face and spit in it. But that's a full-on fact. There are so many things in and of its own self that stress out an average YouTube narrator that I'm quite surprised a good portion of them haven't lost their freaking sanity because of it. I mean, it's a choice for all of us to do it, but for the most part, though, it's kind of not a choice. I mean, for some of us, it's our daily income. It's the income that we make on here, on this platform, or any other platform. This is like the only thing that we have in regards to an actual job, because no other job has ever hired us, no job has ever taken us, or we just don't have the work experience or whatever. Or there's even some people who don't want to work in that kind of field because they think it's hindering on them. And I understand that. I mean, but for a lot of people, though, with all that just comes the stress. I mean, I can't tell you how many mental breakdowns I've had because I thought that everything was going to go away. I mean, where I've had threats from people, and that's another thing too you have to deal with, is haters. That also is something you're going to have to get stressed out about. I can't tell you how many times I have had people threaten me, saying that they were going to flag every one of my videos and try and get my channel taken down because I supposedly ruined their childhood or something along those lines. I mean, and of course, I don't really think too much of it, but I know a lot of people would think a lot about it. The main thing I usually do, and this is a recommendation I usually do, I'm going to say right here, if a person is threatening to flag your entire channel and do all of those things to you because they claim that they don't like you or they think that you ruined their childhood or whatever, this is what you can do. Block them. Block them permanently, or better yet, report them and then block them. Because those people are nothing else more but harassers. And they're actually threatening you as well. You have every right to flag them down, and then they will go away. They will go away permanently when they realize that you mean business. And even if they do attempt to flag your videos, it's not 100% chance that you're going to get screwed over in the end. You can always just appeal these things. You can appeal it entirely. Will it take some time? Yes. But even then, though, it will eventually come by where your channel's fine and it'll be reinstated. But there have been occasions where that might not have been the case, which of course adds more to the stress. But even with that being said, just because all these things tend to happen doesn't mean that if you really are dedicated to doing this and you're willing to spend the time, effort, and the money to make a channel, a Creepypasta channel, and stick with it, then by all means, go right on ahead. Go right on ahead and do it. But I can guarantee you, if you can't handle stress, if you can't handle financial issues, if you can't be willing to sit there and spend a little bit of extra money, if you don't want to sit there and deal with a bunch of haters and things like that, if you don't want to deal with potential all that, then honestly, don't even bother making a Creepypasta channel. I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't bother making it if you can't handle this kind of thing. Because it's a big problem for a lot of people. And if anything, it could get you in a lot of trouble too. It could change you in a lot of ways. And of course, that shouldn't be the case. But that's only if you really want to do that or not. But if anything, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I do apologize if this was a lot more of a, more downer side kind of video, but it is the honest truth though. A lot of things you have to take in consideration, and I don't really see a whole lot of videos really discussing, what you should do before you become a Creepypasta narrator, and hopefully I actually managed to properly explain the things, properly. But you know what, before I actually end the video, I'm going to quickly cover the topic of the good of it. Number 1, views. Number 2, if you're monetized, cash. Number 3, a fandom. A group of people who love and adore you. Number 4, you are able to change lives. And number 5, you ultimately could be the biggest person on YouTube sooner or later. And if anything, those in of their own selves should hopefully motivate you. Hopefully. Anyway, I'm the Shadow Reader. Thanks again for watching today's episode. And like always, roll the outro because I'm out.
In fear and surprise as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave, glued to your computer screen. The killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horde-driven nightmarish gore-filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.